So while in Manila, President Obama took a moment to call out Republicans who oppose letting Syrian refugees into the United States right now. Here's what he said.
Apparently, they're scared of widows and orphans coming into the United States of America as part of our tradition of compassion. First they were worried about the press being too tough on them during debates. Now they're worried about 3-year-old orphans. That doesn't sound very tough to me.
Joining me now, one of those people who opposes the plan to allow them in right now, Carly Fiorina, 2016 Republican presidential candidate. Carly, good morning. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning, Martha. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So the president's in Manila, and that's what he was talking about. Your reaction?
It is outrageous. It is outrageous that a sitting president, immediately following a terrorist attack, where we know that ISIS is attempting to plan attacks here in the U.S., that he would use his time to attack Republicans. It is just outrageous. This is revealing of the fact that President Obama doesn't understand the nature of the threat. I guess he's like Hillary Clinton. He thinks Republicans are his enemies. He's a politician, not a leader. And here's the reality of the situation. He ought to be focused on the real enemy. He ought to understand the threat that is ongoing. And here, once again, he somehow believes that it is Republicans' words that are a recruitment tool for ISIS. Honestly, he doesn't understand the nature of the threat. He never has. It is outrageous. There's nothing that we're going to say or do that causes ISIS to do what they do. They are at war with us. They are at war with this nation. They are at war with our way of life. They are at war with Europe. And President Obama is speaking in a way that is beneath his office.
Yeah, well, I mean, he clearly gets fired up about this part of this issue. Which
it's
is
all
that
he gets fired up about is arguing with Republicans. That's what he gets fired up about. He doesn't get fired up about ISIS. He doesn't get fired up about the threat to the homeland. He doesn't get fired up about what we need to do to change our strategy to defeat them. He gets fired up about attacking Republicans.
All right, let's play a little bit more of that from yesterday.
I cannot think of a more potent recruitment tool for ISIL than some of the rhetoric that's been coming out of here during the course of this debate. ISIL seeks to exploit the idea that there is a war between Islam and the West.
Do you believe that that this war is against Islam?
It's an unbelievable comment that he just made. It reminds me of the comment he made when he likened those who opposed his terrible Iranian deal to the hardline mullahs in Iran chanting death to America. I guess he and Hillary Clinton agree. The enemies are Republicans. Unfortunately, it seems to me that the Republicans are the ones focused on the security of the homeland. How can we continue to admit Syrian refugees when all of our intelligence communities admit that they cannot properly vet them? And I'm sorry, Mr. President, it is true that there are heartbreaking pictures of women and children, but the vast majority of these Syrian refugees are young, able-bodied men. There is no doubt about that. This president is not focused on defeating an enemy that is at war with us.
Yeah. You know, war obviously involves some very tough choices. Now, we have made decisions not to strike certain areas because there's a concern about civilian casualties. We've heard stories about pilots who have gone in with a full payload, ready to drop bombs on a target, and have been told to turn around. They turn around and they go back with those munitions still with them. It doesn't seem like the French and the Russians are having that problem. You know, you have to make moral choices as a president in many moments. And you look at the numbers of people who are dying, the people who died in Paris, and the people who might die in an airstrike if someone doesn't get out of the way after pamphlets are dropped, which is what we've been doing. Your thoughts on that moral choice?
Well, let's face it, Martha. The rules of engagement that the military has been constrained by for some time now are political expediency. Just as President Obama and Hillary Clinton's withdrawal from Iraq in 2011, giving up all of our hard-fought gains, was political expediency. This is an administration driven by political expediency rather than a strategy of how to win on the ground. The reality is we have a whole set of allies in that region who have been fighting ISIS for years now, whether it's Jordan or Kuwait or the Kurds or the Saudis or the Egyptians. All of them have been asking us for support, as have the Turks. We haven't done it. And isn't it amazing that our completely ineffectual bombing campaign was suddenly ramped up on Monday? The point is, this president is delusional when he says he has a strategy to win. He does not. He is not telling the truth to the American people when he says this Paris is a temporary setback. It is not. He clearly does not understand the nature of the enemy here. They are at war with us. We must wage a war and win. And contrast his statements with the clarity of purpose expressed by President Hollande or David Cameron of Britain. They understand what the threat is. Our president does not. Hillary Clinton does not. Bernie Sanders does not. It's astonishing. But it also puts our homeland at risk and at danger. Yes, tough calls need to be made in a time of war. Yes, there are many things that we should be doing that we could have been doing over the last couple of years that we are not doing. But clearly this president reveals once again that politics is his North Star. It is always politics.
Carly Fiorina, thank you. Good to speak with you this morning.
Thank you, Martha.